Well, I guess we know now Congress won't stop him. He's just doing what he wants, setting the world on fire. 80% of us don't agree with what he's doing. That's about 130 million registered voters and maybe 180 to 200 million adults against one. And he's kicking our butts. What you gonna do, American people? 200 million to one. We need to find our spine and stand up and quit being a spectator to this mess. And in the words of Biggie Smalls, if you didn't know, now you know. Welcome to Standards Not Force. A thanks to those of you who are continuing to send out your warm wishes to our military and law enforcement. A special thanks to those of you who continue to give gifts on Gift Giving Mondays. I'm getting many thank yous when I give gifts of well wishing to those in my community each Monday. It's a joy to see the joy on their faces and surprise when they receive it. And I'm sure they are continuing to pass the gift the following Monday to somebody different in the community. I'll wait today when the gift returns back to me. Starting today on this channel, we start taking on the billionaire class in 3 separate videos. Every election cycle, every committee hearing, every press conference, we hear the same words. We are addressing it. We are studying it. We are working on solutions. And yet, the daily realities Americans live with, housing instability, healthcare costs, economic pressure on families, remain largely unchanged. They're not ignored, and they're not unknown. They're just unresolved. So tonight I want to take a different approach. No statistics first, no ideology first, a life. Just want to talk about a life. Every baby born in a hospital knows absolutely nothing when they are born. Their brains are a clean slate. So let's follow one child from birth to their first day on the job and examine how our taxes make us shareholders in large corporations, but we get no returns for our investment. The owners of these corporations take all the profits and become billionaires. You see today how once they become billionaires, they begin reshaping our country into an autocracy as they become oligarchs. They use our children we have trained to make AI and robots. They don't know how to make robots, and they definitely don't know how to write code for AI. As we train our kids and give them experience and knowledge to make robots and AI, then the corporations use them in hopes to get rid of us. Our tax dollars support that journey every child makes, every step of the way into the corporations. So we will ask a simple structural question. If our dollars build the expertise, that foundation that corporations depends on, what's the appropriate national standard in return? Let's take a closer look at this. A child is born in an American hospital. That moment feels private, personal, and family centered. But structurally, it is already supported by public tax systems we pay into. The hospital exists within a regulated framework shaped by federal and state law. The physicians were trained in universities our tax dollars heavily subsidize to create public funded research grants as well as loan systems. Residency programs in the hospital rely on our taxes for Medicare supported funding structures. The hospital receives approximately $150,000 a year for the resident. The resident is paid from $50,000 to $60,000 each year. The owner of the hospital makes a profit of $80,000 to $90,000 per resident. Well, that profit is our tax dollars. Public health departments monitor safety standards, sanitation, and disease control, all paid for by our tax dollars. Before the newborn child ever opens their eyes to the world, an invisible architecture of our public tax investment has already protected them. And the billionaires are already taking profits. No return to us. The delivery room, the trained professionals, the regulated pharmaceuticals, the emergency systems on standby, all exist because we, the taxpayers, collectively finance the stability of that system over decades. That is the first layer of the newborn's journey. Then the child leaves the hospital and goes home. The roads carrying that family home were built and maintained with public funds, our tax dollars. Traffic safety systems, the emergency response services, and environmental health regulations all operate continuously in the background, supported by our tax dollars. Vaccination programs are coordinated by public health agencies, our tax dollars. Clean water standards are enforced by regulatory bodies, supported by our tax dollars. Food safety inspections ensure that what the child eats does not endanger their development, our tax dollars. None of these systems announce themselves daily. They simply function because of our tax dollars. This is the nature of stable infrastructure. It is most visible when it fails, and largely invisible when it succeeds. But make no mistake, this is cumulative public tax investment in human life from the earliest stages. At age 5, the child enters school. Now the public tax role becomes unmistakable. Classrooms funded by local and state taxes, our tax dollars. Teachers trained in publicly supported universities, our tax dollars. Curriculum standards developed through state and federal education systems. Transportation systems bringing children safely to and from school. Day after day, year after year, the child's literacy, numeracy, and cognitive development are cultivated in an environment financed and regulated by our public taxes. This is workforce formation in slow motion. The student learns to read instructions, to write reports, to solve problems, to cooperate with others in structured environments. These are all incidental skills. They are the core competencies every modern corporation later demands from its employees. As the child grows into adolescence, the public investment deepens. Science labs funded by public budgets introduce them to experimentation and analysis. Public tax funded libraries provide access to knowledge resources far beyond what any individual household could supply. Public tax funded athletic programs build teamwork and discipline. Community colleges and technical programs are often subsidized by taxes. They offer pathways to specialized skills. Even digital learning tools operate on internet infrastructure. The infrastructure was originally began with public funded research networks decades ago. The point is not to romanticize government. The point is structural accuracy. A society that expects a competent workforce must invest consistently in developing human capability. And that is exactly what our public tax dollars does. Year after year, and largely without fanfare. At 18, the young adult reaches a crossroads. Some go directly into the workforce, others pursue higher education. They enter college. Public loan guarantees, grants, and research-funded universities expand their capabilities further. If they go straight to work, bypassing college, they still rely on labor regulations, transportation infrastructure, and a stable economic environment shaped by public policy, our taxes. Either path remains anchored in the same reality: their ability to function productively in society was built on top of a long chain of our public tax investment. This is not theoretical, it is chronological. From birth through education and early childhood, the public has participated continuously in cultivating an individual's capacity to contribute economically. Now imagine that individual walking into their first day on the job at a major corporation. They are hired because they are qualified. But that qualification did not emerge spontaneously. It was built over 2 decades through public healthcare systems that preserved their health, public schools that developed their knowledge, public infrastructure that enabled their daily functioning, public legal and economic stability that allowed businesses to operate predictably. By the time that employee logs in on their first day, the public has already invested thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars into the development of that human capital. Multiply that by millions of employees across major corporations. You now begin to see the structural partnership that already exists between public investment and private profitability. That brings us to the core structural question. If public tax systems systematically contribute to the creation of the workforce, the infrastructure, and the stability that corporations rely upon, what is the appropriate long-term standard governing that relationship? Not punishment, not hostility, standards. A rational discipline framework that recognizes the reciprocal nature of public investment and private profit generation. This is not an emotional argument. It is an economic and civic architecture question. In this first part, we have not discussed solutions. We have only walked through a life from birth to employment and examined the invisible public investments supporting that journey. In part two, we'll shift from narrative to framework. What would a standards-based national model look like that aligns corporate success with sustained public stability? And in part three, we will examine a specific lawful policy mechanism designed to operationalize that standard at the national level. Because understanding the life is the first step. Understanding the structure behind that life is the next. Standards, not force. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Join us on Substack for more information at the address in our description. To sign up as a volunteer on our national campaign against deportations, family separations, and arresting and handcuffing children, you can also be done in the descriptions. All power to the people. I'll see you on the next video.